Today we need to talk about redundancies. You see, there are going to be lots of problems that arise as you're doing live shows, and you want to do some preemptive problem solving. That's the important part of it. Figuring out how to solve problems before the problems ever even show up. Now let's look at a few examples. First thing, if you're a guitar player like me, you want to have more than one guitar with you. You don't need 20, probably. But if you're doing a live show, definitely bring at least one backup guitar and a couple sets of backup strings. Also, in the trailer right over there, we've got our speakers and stuff, but you might be at a show and your speakers fail. So what should you do? Well, what we have in the back of the truck is an extra speaker just in case. That speaker is not as nice or as loud or powerful as our main speakers, but it's a great backup if things start to go badly and you need to swap out speakers real quick. Also, not related to the show itself, but getting to the show. Back here, I've got some extra oil, I've got some extra coolant, I've got a couple of tarps just in case it starts raining, I've got a couple of towels, I have a toolkit. These are all things that you should keep in your van or truck or whatever you're using to get to the show. Now, we use a digital mixer for our show, so our sound engineer mixes off of an iPad, but I've had this sneaking suspicion that one of these days that mixer is going to fail. So I have an extra one. This one, used, much less expensive, but in a pinch, we could swap out the mixer and plug all of our stuff. Some of it we'd have to switch to mono. You know, our ears would be in mono or just have no ears at all just for the sake of getting things going quickly. But that's something you should consider. It could be an old school, like just a few knobs, however many, the fewest amount of channels you can get by with, the fewest amount of technology, and the quickest setup. That's what you want to aim for in your backup mixer. I learned all this stuff from my dad, though. My dad's been gigging professionally for 43 years now. And also in the truck, this is his backup pedal board. So if we get to a show and for whatever reason his bass pedals are not working, he's got backups. And if the backup fails, with the bass you can usually just go straight in and use a compressor on the board to kind of tame things. Now, this is all cost prohibitive, and I understand that. But we're talking about best case scenario. You want to be as prepared as possible. So, moving on to the trailer, which, yes, we do have a backup tire ready to go in the trailer if a tire pops. Now in the trailer, in that very ugly wooden box back there, we have our drummer's electronic kit. But what if the kit brain goes bad? It just goes kaput. Well, he has an extra, the brain part where all the actual drum sounds come from, he has an extra one back there in a box ready to go if it fails for whatever reason. Very smart to have. And this is the silly part. So back here, we've got our shoes and ties and stuff like that. And yes, we've got a couple extra pairs of shoes in case we're dancing and the sole of a shoe just evaporates. Right here we've got saxophones, but down in this hole up there that you can't really see in, there's a backup tenor saxophone just in case. It's a very cheap student model that you'd never want to play in a show, but if Michael's saxophone just dies, we've got a backup just in case. I'm having trouble figuring out the lighting, but whatever. So in this rack unit right here, which has big wheels, we got the biggest wheels we could because that's an annoyance you don't want every single show. But anyways, in this box, we have where we plug in all of our channels. We got wireless in-ears, which is awesome, but we have options to just throw up an old speaker for a stage wedge if the in-ears go. We've got wireless microphones, which I love having because we can explore in the crowd and do more for the show. But we do have enough old school microphones that we can go wired in if all the wireless just dies. These are things you want to think about ahead of time. You don't want to be at the show and it breaks and you go, well, show's over. No, have some backups, even if it's really cheap and expensive stuff. Now, for my guitar sounds, I don't use an actual amp on stage. I don't know if I can get a good angle. I use a Kemper stage, which is awesome, but it might just die on me sometime. So, up front, I've got a second, less expensive, not quite as nice, pedal board, just like a multi-unit thing, so I don't have to have a bunch of individual pedals. But I've got that extra pedal board, not as expensive, not as nice, but great to have in a pinch. That's in the back of the truck. Now, one of my favorites, our keyboard player uses a Nord on stage. It's super nice, the sounds are amazing, but it almost doesn't matter because he's such a good player. The dude could play on like a child's play kit and it'll be fine. But in the back of the truck, I have the cheapest Casio keyboard I could find, so in a pinch, he could use that if he needed to, which actually happened once. We were playing in Destin, Florida, and his keyboard died, so we brought out the Casio, and he finished the night on that, and then he took his Nord to get it fixed later. But you gotta have these things ready so the show isn't ruined. It's just delayed or maybe diminished a little bit. Now, you do not want to be at an outdoor show like a festival or something, or like playing for a run or whatever, and you find out that they don't have enough power for you, or they're running off of a generator and the generator dies. Well, we have a generator for that. Generators are not inexpensive, but it's a great thing to have if you're able to get one. If you know you're doing an outdoor show where that's more of a possibility, bring your generator, throw it in the back of the truck. Just don't put it like in the truck because the fumes will get you high and that's not good. Another one, it is my responsibility to bring set lists to shows, which is a horrible idea because I can't be trusted with that. I've forgotten the set list for shows, so what I have on my phone is a picture of each set. So that worst case scenario, I can look at the phone instead of having the physical set list, or we can get a notepad and write out new set lists right before the show. And now that you know all these things to prepare for shows for the eventualities of bad things happening, Calvin, what should they do?
Like and subscribe.
That's right. Big man, you rock.